Ladies and Habibis, we are going to introduction to you rising star of South Asia. He is very well educated. He knows Islam and Christianity very well. He done what they said he can. He is Doctor.
Alhamdulillah.
Wait a minute, what are you doing, Zakir? You come out, it's not you. Habibi, take him out. Sorry, there was some problem. He's Adam Zakir.
Hello everyone, this is your favorite Murtid. Salamul Masih, peace of Christ be with each and every one of you. I hope you guys are having fun. And hello everyone, your favorite Murtid is live once again and we are going to have some fun over here once again. Thank you so very much for being here. I'm so sorry I was not able to do the streams last week. I had to reschedule them. I'm sorry about that due to some personal issues, as some of you might already know. With that being said, you know, personal issues aside, uh, I had a small accident that I told you guys about it. But we are back live. Things happens. This is the world, and we are going to continue our stream that we did almost 6 weeks ago. Wow, that's a long time ago. So 6 weeks ago, we invited our brother Lloyd De Jongh. The like that guy is awesome. I don't know how he remembers so much about Sharia and how many books he has studied. It's just crazy. But then again, he has a lot of grip on the history, and that's why he's here. And we were talking about destruction of the West and the atheism, and he did a marvelous job with all the references and everything. So let me invite him back on stage. And but before I do that, let me request you all, please do like the video and share. The more the people will be able to listen to this, the better it is, because right now we know the West is going down the drain. If you know about the current statistics that are being shown and what is being said by JD Vance and uh, what's the name of that guy who's running the Doge? Elon Musk, yeah. What they are showing right now and what they are doing, they are showing that things are going way south. So without any delay, let me invite our brother Lloyd while you like and share. Brother Lloyd, welcome once again, brother.
Thank you for the very kind words, Adam. And just so you know, I'm impressed by how much you remember, because whenever I speak about something in Islam, you come up with a source or a reference. I mean, so awesome.
Oh, brother, seems like we're gonna sit over here and we're gonna, praise each and other at this moment. But one thing for sure, you have done study in an area where most of the Muslims or uh, most of the polemics would actually not do it, and you have done it so well that it's really hard to refute you in any way or form. So I am so thankful to be part of this journey that you are running, and it's always good to be with you. Unfortunately, the timings that you have versus timings that I follow, it's kind of in clash. Otherwise, we could have done a lot more together. So without any delay, brother, give us a 5 minutes, 10 minutes recap, because it's been like 6 weeks. So so everyone, if you do not remember, the last stream that we did was in on January the 12th. All right, and I'm going to
Wow.
share the link here as well. This is the part one, and I am going to do that so that your channel people will also receive it. So, brother Lloyd, I would request you to share it in with your audience as well so they would know. And I am sending it here.
I'll do
Here we
that
go,
now.
part one. And I am putting it, okay, I just put a V instead of a control V. That's so silly of me. Part one, there we go. And in the private chat, I'm sending it to you so that you could share it with your audience. So this is the part one, guys, and this was done January 12th, long time ago, almost 6 weeks ago. So please, uh, you can watch that later, not right now. But Lloyd, brother Lloyd, I would request you to give us a small, you know, recap so that we could continue with slide number 29 or 30th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we'll just review the last slide when I start, but we were speaking about atheism. Atheists always assert that atheism is neutral. It has no particular leaning, so they therefore assume that atheism is something that has no negative connotations, no negative effects. What they don't realize is, now we didn't have the opportunity to cover all of it, but atheism goes back to pre-BC Greece. It can go back several thousand years. And you can then also come back to the modern era where modern atheists establish atheism as an alternative religion to Christianity. When you go through the founders of modern atheism, especially when you go to the middle of the 1700s, just prior to the French Revolution, you start to find that these people have utilized some very strange, it's an amalgamation of paganism along with some very strange philosophies. And the French Revolution was, as we discussed, as we went into on the last show, genocidal. It was violent and brutal and bloody in the extreme. And this was an expression of atheism because atheism is essentially the opposite of Christianity. It seeks to remove the influence of Christianity, remove the moral restraints of Christianity, and it then allowed them to murder in the name of atheism because atheism is scientific, atheism is pure, and they sought to murder the Christians in France. This was massive bloodshed. It was the most barbaric, inhumane event that one can think of. And then, of course, we find that atheism is also fundamental to the functioning of communism, socialism. So you find that all of these socialists that we hear about from Engels and Marx and others, Lenin and various, and we'll look a little bit at Lenin, they all see atheism as a religion. In fact, now Marx, what few people realize is Marx was actually, he writes various poems, he writes a play, he had two daughters that murdered themselves, he had two babies that died, or he allowed them to die, neglected them. He writes that he gave his soul to Satan, that he sold his soul to Satan. So he wasn't, it would seem that he was a Satanist, even though he claims to be an atheist. And all of these atheists are writing about that this is the new religion to replace Christianity. You'll find this referenced over and over and over in the writings of these socialists, these socialist atheists, and all of these heroes of atheism. You find that they're
So,
all.
sorry. You go really, really fast. One of the very few important points that I want to highlight. I know, Lloyd, I'm sorry, I need to jump in
Please go
sometimes
ahead.
because some points are very important. And one of the important point is that atheism started as a religion. So everyone needs to understand that it started as a religion. There are so many new atheists, new, not neo-atheists, new atheists, uh, who thinks that they are humanist and they think that atheism is not a religion. So this is atheism is not a neutral position. That is what we discussed last time, like Lloyd said. And he has given so many examples. And from the people who created this, it's all about a new religion, a new form of religion, which
Mm-hmm.
goes exactly against the Christianity, because that's where they actually started. And right now, there are neo atheists, as you know, and I have done this discussion with David Wood, that they are the far extreme, just like Islam, that either you become this or you are nothing. And this is another thing. So
Mm-hmm.
there are so many so-called neutral atheists which thinks that they are neutral, but in reality, this is same like a Muslim coming in and saying, "Hey, I'm a moderate Muslim." There's nothing called moderate Muslim. So the
Mm-hmm.
whole idea is you can be an agnostic, and that's perfectly fine. That's a neutral position, as we discussed last time. An agnostic is a neutral position. An atheist is not a neutral position. And that's what we discussed. And that's like some snippets that Lloyd just said so fast. And I wanted to emphasize that it's not a neutral position. It's it's another form of a religion And that's what it is. Yes, brother.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And also, Andrew Martin, thanks for your comment there. So, humanism is also a religion. If you read the founders of humanism, you go through their works, you read their quotes, they all speak of it as a religion based on the principles of Christianity, obviously minus the divine aspects. Now, when you look at the principles of humanism, when you look at the principles of the Enlightenment, you look at the principles of atheism, or the scientific principles of atheism, and you look at the principles of the Church of Satan, they're identical. So, atheism, wokeism, Satanism, humanism are essentially the same thing. They're interchangeable.
Oh, one
So
more
they
thing.
follow the
That's
same
beautiful.
principles.
Yeah, that reminds me of that again, the last presentation. So a lot of atheists, I've been listening to some now, uh, and they're like, Satan is such a nice person. He's such a good person. Like he likes to have fun and enjoyment and all that.
Mhm.
So like you'll see
Satan wants
you'll
you
hear
to
these
have
atheists.
fun and without these moral constraints. God's a joy killer.
and and yes, you will hear these words from a lot of atheists, and you'll be like, that kind of gives us the moral of the story in essence.
Yeah. No, so that's what we have. So shall we go back to, and then I will cover,
Oh,
I'll do a different aspect of this today. So share my screen, and then this is where
yes,
we
sir.
left off the
It's
last
shared
time.
already.
So let me just now, you've heard the WEF, you've seen them talk, and you've seen, for instance, the president of BlackRock speaking and says, no, we have to force behaviors. We have to change behaviors. We have to make people behave. You've probably seen these clips on X and on YouTube and so on. It all starts with this guy. And obviously he's not the first, but he was a very well-respected psychologist who says we can no longer afford freedom. That's B.F. Skinner. And we must design human culture to shape the behavior needed. They have to punish you if you step out of line. That's like the social credit system in China, just bringing it into the West and giving it justification. Because obviously, if you don't have God, you've now got psychology, you have therapy because you don't have church. So now he says we can no longer afford freedom. But notice he also says we need to abolish the family unit because you see, when a Christian family has children and they raise them with morals, those kids don't respond to the government's wishes. They're not programmed the way that these people want. So we must abolish the family unit. And we'll speak more about that in a moment. So science, this kind of science, has enabled moral and social degeneracy. This is scientific atheism. This is humanism at work. What we're seeing, wokeism, is the result of this scientific atheism. So he said that there's no free will, right? And basically, free will hinders using scientific methods to modify behavior because if you have free will, you're not going to do as you're told. So, to build a happier society, we need to program you because we need to take away your free will. So, free will he saw as a miraculous event, something God given, and atheists, well, they're not for God, they're against miracles. So, therefore, it's something that they're against. Not that they are neutral, but they are actually against that idea. So I'll move on. Now, this is the Communist Manifesto: abolition of the family. Even the most radical flare up at this infamous proposal of the communists. And he says, on what foundation is the present family, the bourgeois family, based? On capital, on private gain. In its completely developed form, this family exists only among the bourgeoisie. So the radical communists, that's Marx, Lenin, Stalin, Mao, and all of these crazy founders, they said, no, no, we have to destroy the family because the family is slavery. The family is abuse of, and we're going to free them by tearing up the family. So it looks like this is just communism under another name. And of course, we know that Marx was very much a Satanist. He says, Marx, the bourgeois claptrap about the family and education, about the hallowed co-relation of parent and child, the sacred bond between mother and child, is disgusting. And the more by the action of modern industry. He says all family ties among the proletarians are torn apart. Their children are transformed into articles of commerce and instruments of labor. And the bourgeois sees in his wife a mere instrument of production. Now, he's talking about Islam here. I don't think he's talking about the average Christian family. So, do you see the hypocrisy here and how this is utterly
Wow.
anti Christian?
No, this is really crazy. Like they're going directly. attacking the families and all. It's just
Mm.
it. So as an atheist, you gotta destroy the family. Full stop.
Yep.
Otherwise, if there's family, you have family units. If you have family units, you have moral, ethical responsibilities.
Hmm.
So perfectly articulated.
Yeah. So we can see that atheism enabled this. These were supposedly the heroes of atheism. And of course, atheists will go, no, no, but Marx wasn't a real atheist. That wasn't real Islam. He's not a real Muslim. You know, you'll get that all the time. That has nothing to do with Islamo-atheism or something. So Stalin was a Christian, just like Hitler. Now, this is from a book called Never Empty, A History of Soviet Atheism, published at Princeton University in
Hitler,
2018.
by the way, Hitler was a Christian, and that is why he created
I have
his
an
own
entire
church,
series on that.
and he attacked the church to begin with. You know, it's just it's just
That
like he first attacked the church, and he created his own, dedicate in the church, and church was the first one to oppose Hitler and say
Yep.
that you can't do that. Yet he was a Christian. Man, that is
Right.
crazy.
No, I've got an entire series on Hitler. You go through the facts and you realize Hitler was anything but a Christian. But that's off topic for now. But of more than 50,000 Orthodox churches on the territory of the Russian Republic, right, in 1917, fewer than 1,000 were left in 1939. So Stalin oversaw, between Lenin and Stalin, they oversaw the destruction of 49,000 churches. More than 49,000 churches. These are good Christians. Yeah, good, great Christians. The
A
Revolutionary
good
Army.
Christian who were destroying 49,000 churches.
Yeah. So now the Revolutionary Army of the French murdered 6,000 prisoners, many of them women, children, and elderly after the Battle of Savonay. 3,000 Vendée women were drowned at Pont-à-Bon. We already spoke about how they would take the priests and the nuns, and they would tie a priest and a nun naked, face to face. They would tie them together naked, and they would throw them in the river and drown them. And they did this with hundreds of priests and nuns. Right.
Oh.
In addition, 5,000 Vendée priests, elderly women, and children were tied in groups in barges and drowned in the Loire River at Nantes. July 1796, nearly 500,000 Catholics were killed. All of these theists were killed at the hands of atheists. Now, this was the first cry or the first example of historical public atheism. These weren't just individuals who didn't believe in God, but this was an atheistic government, the very first one in history, and it was just genocidal. It was brutal and bloody. So atheists have still to explain why compassionate and rational atheists unleashed the most violent century in history, which is the 20th century. Right? So socialism was created as an atheistic religion, right? As the Catholic Church has called it, which atheists themselves will call it. And it's a religion created by atheists, celebrated and defended by atheists, and it has its own prophets, its prophecies, sacred items. It's basically a reproduction of Christianity, but with all of the divine aspects removed. So this, now oddly enough, the Catholic Church has condemned atheism over and over. The 1992 Catechism of the Catholic Church condemns socialism as an atheistic ideology. And it says here the Church has rejected the totalitarian and atheistic ideologies associated in modern times with communism or socialism. And that includes like humanism and those things. So now let's speak of the godless 5-year plan. This was 1928, where the communists launched what they called them the League of Militant Godless, or the League of Militant Atheists. So they gave local cells of the anti-religious organization, the League of Militant Godless, new tools to disestablish religion. Churches were closed, stripped of their property, people were beaten, and any educational or welfare activities that went beyond liturgy were stopped. So and some of them weren't exactly, I would say, well behaved. So they actually established a group to disestablish religion in the Soviet Union. Right. So Joseph Stalin, second leader of the Soviet Union, tried to enforce militant atheism on the Republic. He was the example of the socialist man, like Muhammad is the perfect Muslim man. Stalin, right, the perfect socialist man, Stalin argued, was an atheist one, free of the religious. But of course, they still have their own dogma. So over 5 years, 32 to 37, Stalin declared the 5-year plans of atheism, just like you have Mao's 5-year plans of communism in China. And the League of Militant Godless was charged with completely eliminating all religious expression in the country. Odd for a Christian to do that. So the same methods and terror tactics were imposed against others that the regime considered enemies. And in Private Property and Communism in 1845, Marx said that communism begins, well, it's usually translated as communism begins where atheism begins. But in this translation, communism begins from the outset with atheism. So according to Karl Marx, communism begins with atheism. Communism cannot happen without atheism. The barbarity of communism relies on atheism because Christianity opposes communism. That's also why Jesus is not a communist. Do you want to add anything there, or shall I just go on, Adam?
You are right on spot, brother, and I'm listening and I'm enjoying and I'm learning. I'm in a learning phase right now. Literally, I don't have this kind of information that you have, and this is a beautiful presentation, guys. I could not have researched this much that you are giving us this information, brother. Please continue.
Great, no, thank you. All right, so I mean, I had to distill about 500 slides to make these 60. So secular
I'm sorry
ideology.
about that. That was me, guys. I made him do this. That let's finish everything in 2 streams rather than making 20.
Yeah,
So I wanted him to concise it. So that was my fault. But if you want to
that's
read
cool. No,
or
no, let's
learn
just finish
all
this one. It's
500,
fine.
yeah, if you want to
No,
do
no,
all
no, no, no.
500, go to Lloyd's channel. He has already done a huge series on it. So Lloyd De Jongh, if you look at the title of the video, you will be able to click his channel, and you can go there. So if you want to see the whole thing, you can go to his channel, Lloyd De Jongh, and it's clickable in my title. Brother Lloyd, continue.
Right. So secular ideologies kill. Secular ideologies are murderous. Regardless, so we'll have a look at obviously atheists. Oh, the Christians kill the Christian church, blah blah. Ignore that for the moment. So let's have a look at this claim, right? Religion causes war. So a study was done by a historical group comprised of some of the best military and historical experts in the world, right? They created this thing called the Encyclopedia of Wars, edited and created by Charles Phillips and Alan Axelrod. And so that's the Encyclopedia of Wars. So they did a study of all the wars over the last 10,000 years, right? Now, they didn't chronicle all the battles. For instance, the Peloponnesian War happened over, I think, 250 years. There were hundreds of battles. They called that one war. Now, they could have made it, there were periods of peace or periods of, lower tension. So they could have called that 20 wars or 30 wars, but they called it one, right? So the numbers, but they said that secular wars, that's the red, 93% of all warfare on the planet from 8000 BC to 2000 AD was government secular wars, nothing to do with religion. 93% of all warfare over the last 10,000 years. Then they said religious war is the other 7% of religious wars. And now remember, they didn't say it's religious war caused by specifically religious ideas. No, they said where a religious component can be attached to the war. There's a religious component to it. We'll look more at that soon. They said that more than half of that 7%, 3.8%, right, is all other religions, right? But 3.2%, the majority here, is just Islam. So almost half of all religious wars were purely caused by Islam.
So out of 40,000 so-called religions in the world, half
Islam
of
is
the killing is by the Muslims, but
just the Muslims, yeah.
that's okay, perfect. But that's compared to the atheistic wars by the government. It's nothing. It's piece of cake. It's just it's nothing, like 3.2% versus 93%. That's just unbelievably crazy. And what's the authenticity of this encyclopedia of war?
Say again, please. What's the?
What's the authenticity of this
No, this is solid.
encyclopedia of
This is
war?
done by top military experts, top historians. It's a solid book. It's 3 volumes. It's very detailed. It's like hundreds, thousand, maybe a couple of thousand pages. I don't know. I've got it in PDF. Check my videos for the description to my archive, and go check it out. Download a copy. So Now, Nazism, Marxism, fascism, all secular ideologies, but they are all versions of socialism. Everyone wants to claim that Nazism has got nothing to do with socialism, but it's the National Socialist Workers' Party. It's the Socialist Workers' Party. It's the Labour Party. So it's simply non-Marxist socialism. All the rest are Marxist socialism. Nazism was non-Marxist socialism. So all these claims to science and reason do not automatically result in an atheist utopia free of violence, as we can see, right? Nor does it lead man to reason. So atheists are basically communism's useful idiots. Atheism is mandatory in communist political parties. So atheism is mandatory in the political parties that are communist. And communism is also an incoherent, Gnostic, relativistic idea, right? So let's continue. So religion. Let me see.
While you
I'll skip the
see,
slides. It's not that critical. No, this is more important. So let me go over this. Let's look at the 100 worst atrocities, because Christianity is supposed to be so dangerous. Religion is dangerous. Atheists tell us, no, religion kills. We need to replace it with atheism. Okay, let's have a look at the 100 worst atrocities in history. This is Matthew White's The Definitive Chronicle of History's 100 Worst Atrocities, the great big book of horrible things, right? So you have the clown of reason, Sam Harris. He's a critic of the historic impact on religion on ancient and modern societies, right? He loves totalitarianism, he loves censorship, and he writes a book called The End of Faith, Religion, Terror, and the Future of Reason. And he says, of course, that religious faith is the most prolific source of violence in our history. Now, we've just seen from the evidence that's not so. Now, this study of the 100 worst atrocities in history contradicts these claims by Harris and all these other atheists. Of the 100 events in the detailed study, only 11% are in the category of religious conflict. 2 are under the category of human sacrifice for 13 total atrocities if we're generous and give it a religious aspect. Let's have a look and see if it's all to do with Christianity.
perfect.
So, in these religious conflicts, you have the Taiping Rebellion. That's definitely Catholic. 20 million deaths, and that's 6th on the list. Right.
Taiping is Catholic. Perfect. Okay.
Catholic,
I hope
definitely
people are getting the sarcasm here, but fair enough. Continue.
Right. The 30 Years' War, 7.5 million deaths. Now, that number could be lower as well. That's one possibility. Okay, that's Europe. The Mahdi Revolt. Oh, more Catholics. Definitely. 5.5 million people. 21st. The Crusades. This number has recently been taken down to about 1 million deaths. Okay?
But Crusaders, why do we say? Okay, so I have an issue here. So Crusaders did not start as a offensive battle. You need to understand that.
Purely defensive.
So why are we putting these deaths under Crusaders? These deaths are under Islam, because Crusaders started after 28 different councils that happened where popes and pastors never allowed them to go out and fight the Muslims who are invading their lands. So when you say
420 years of Islamic invasion. Yeah.
Exactly. So after 1060, at 1060 or 1040, I forgot, let's just say 20 years of a mismatch. It's either 1020 or 1040 or 1060. 632 till 1020 or 1040, these people allowed the Muslims to invade their lands, even so and so that they finally went into Spain, started raping their women and girls and children, and then they started to defend their lands and push them back. And how can you actually say that these 3 million, let's just say it's 3 million, how can you say that this 3 million deaths are on Crusaders? That's not on Crusaders. They were defending their land. These deaths are supposed to be on Muslims, because they are the one who invaded these lands. Crusaders were defending their lands.
Yeah, I have slides on that. I have very detailed slides, but I didn't want to bring up, a million slides. So,
no, I gotta say that about the Crusaders, because this is crazy. Like you can't put these number on Crusaders. Like, even though the West is so disgusting in trying to undermine Christianity or undermine everything in which is related with Christianity, that they can't even proclaim the truth as truth.
Right. And also these numbers, I've seen numbers as low as now 1 million new figures with the Crusades. So French Wars of Religion, 3 million deaths. Wars in Sudan, 2.6 million. Albigensian Crusade, 1 million. The Panthay Rebellion, definitely Catholic. The Hui Rebellion, 640,000, definitely Catholic. The Partition of India, that's Catholic, right?
Uh,
Cromwell's
l-
invasion of
Guys,
Ireland.
let me just say, every time Lloyd says definitely Catholic,
It's
understand the
sarcasm.
sarcasm in his sentence, okay? Because a lot of people do not understand that. So I'm just telling you, when he says definitely Catholic and the name that you listen shows you it's it's not Catholic, so it is definitely not Catholic.
Yeah.
And Indian partition has nothing to do with Catholicism. It
Now
has
look at
everything
human
to do with
sacrifice. Yeah, go on. Yeah, I'm kidding.
he's
Yeah, but hopefully, so human sacrifice, gladiatorial games. That's Roman Catholic. It's in Rome, so it definitely had to be Catholic. 3.5 million deaths, and then Aztec sacrifice, 1.2 million deaths. It could be much more than this. So this is South America. This is Rome. Now, how much of this has to do with Christianity? I mean, you can look at 1, 2, 3, 4 at most. At most, at a stretch, you can say 4 of these maybe have to do with Christianity. The rest, yeah. I mean, this is hardly exactly religious. This was Roman, you know. So yeah, so they're being generous here. Do you understand how this has got nothing to do with? I mean, this is all secular
You're being
stuff.
very generous, let me just put it this way. But yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So now, so the Spanish are coming, and now they bring a new religion. How bad is that religion? It forbids sacrificing children and eating human flesh. That's shocking. Or, oh look, here comes the far right. You know, so yeah, very bad. Christianity is very, very bad for preventing these things. Right. So let's continue. Now, secular World War One. Okay, what's 35 million divided by 4? Right. The reason I ask is 35 million deaths over 4 years. So it is estimated that 1 million people were tragically killed in the Crusades over 204 years. So let's try and let's just calculate that. 1 million over 204 years. That's 4,900 people a year. Okay,
Ow.
if I calculate that correctly, right? 4,900 people a year. Now let's go to 35 million, and we divide that by 4 years. That's 8,750,000 people killed a year. Let's divide that by 365. That's 24,000 people a day were killed in World War One. Right? Here's the Crusades. Here's
World
World
War
War
One was
One.
definitely Christian, you know.
Catholic,
Oh,
100%.
Catholic. Sorry, Catholic.
100%, definitely. I mean,
And
you know, so you had, yeah, so there you go. So now think about it. In the Crusades, now I'm being generous here. They say as many as 3,000 people died in the Inquisition over 350 years. This number, as far as I can tell, is as low as 2,000 over 400 years. Okay, but I'm being a little generous here. So let's take 3,000 people over 350 years. That's 8.5 people a year. That's genocide. That's more people than are dying at the moment in Palestine. So the Inquisition was killing 8.5 people a year. I mean that at that rate, the earth would be free of people in what, 6 months, right? So
absolutely. And you said Palestine. There is nothing called Palestine in this world. It's Israel.
Fakestein, my bad, Fakestein. So now think,
Fakistan. Yeah.
35 million soldiers and civilians died in just 4 years in World War One. And then, of course, the secular atheists and others decided, and look, Charles Darwin had a lot to do with World War One. People would be amazed how Charles Darwin has blood on his hands, but that's a different story, another time. Then, of course, they decide, hey, we need to do this again because World War One wasn't so great. We didn't kill enough people. Let's start World War Two, right? But let's have a look at World War Two casualties. 60 million people. Okay, over 2,193 days. Let's have a look at this. So 60,242,082 people estimated over 2,193 days. 27,500 people a day were dying. And like everyone goes, religion is bad because 8 people a year were dying during the Inquisition. So
Very
yeah.
bad. Very, very
So
bad.
it's 10. Sorry.
Religion is very, very bad, very bad.
Yeah, exactly. So we need secular governments. We need secular things because once you go secular, war will end. You see, that's the benefit here. That's the strong benefit. So there you go. So then you'd have, if you add the two together and you add another 28,000, I'll just do that. You had 56,000 deaths a day from World War I and World War II, but apparently that's okay because religion is bad. Christianity is bad. The Crusades were bad. So because I mean, if you talk, I think was it 4,900 people a year in the Crusades divided by 365. So 13 people a day were dying in the Crusades over 204 years, and then of course 55,000 people died per day combined World War I and II. But that's okay because it's not Christianity. Then that's just fine. Do you see the hypocrisy here of people? Let's look at 20th century dictators. These are all atheists, or mostly atheists. So Joseph Stalin, non-religious, right? Atheist. Mao Zedong, atheist, communist. Adolf Hitler.
No, these are
definitely not.
all white guys, so they are all Christians, brother. Come on. They're
Yeah,
white
Vladimir.
guys.
We'll talk
Christianity
about.
is the religion of white guy,
Yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, exactly. We need to look at that. Look at this. Hideki Tojo, Catholic. Pol Pot, Catholic. Vladimir Lenin, known Catholic, right? So Chiang Kai-shek, definitely, that's a Catholic name. I've never seen a more Catholic name than that. 42 million for Stalin, maybe as many as 50, 60 million. Mao Zedong, I mean, this number should be more like 65 million. Adolf Hitler, at least 20 million dead, right? Chiang Kai-shek, 10 million. These are the deaths caused by these largely atheist leaders. And no one bats an eye because communism good. So it's just now, this is a book called Death by Government, a really fascinating history of deaths caused by governments. And it says the military rulers of Japan were also ardent National Socialists. Oh, were they Nazis? So yeah. So they so you had these Nazis who were ruling Japan as well, just like Hitler. So he speaks of 169 million murdered, R.J. Rummel, Death by Government. And he says here, far above all is the Soviet Gulag, the Soviet slave labor system created by Lenin and built up under Stalin. In 70 years, it likely chewed up almost 40 million lives. It's like 700,000 lives a year, right, for 70 years. And during the first 88 years of the 20th century, nearly 170 million men, women, and children have been shot, beaten, tortured, knifed, burned, starved, frozen, crushed, or worked to death, buried alive, drowned, hung, bombed by the Baptist Church. Hold on, does it say Baptist Church over there? Am I reading this right? The Baptist
it's
Church.
written somewhere which
I'm just checking. Maybe it was Calvinists. I don't know, but I'm checking. But no. These are governments, secular governments. And he says the dead could conceivably be nearly 360 million people just in the 20th century, murdered by secular atheists for the most part.
Ooh. So I don't call them seculars. I call them seculars. S-I-C-K.
Yeah, seculars, exactly. So understand, but the Spanish Inquisition was bad because 8 people a year died.
Man, that was bad. That was really,
Now,
really bad.
Now, this is Lenin. The scientific concept of dictatorship. You see, scientific atheism, because atheism is scientific. We're scientific thinkers, rational thinkers, scientific.
Yeah,
The
we have to
science-
reduce the population, Earth cannot sustain all that. Scientific
no.
reduction.
Scientific reduction of exactly. So the scientific concept of dictatorship means nothing else but this: power without limit, resting directly upon force, restrained by no laws, absolutely unrestricted by rules. That's Lenin. Basically, murder without restraint. That's good old Lenin. So he says, as will be seen, the results here clearly and decisively show that democracies commit, this is from R.J. Rummel, less democide than other regimes. Democratic governments are the most safe governments ever created. So the Western way, based on Christian principles, is the best way of government ever created. So this is scientific morality. Any comment there, Adam, before I finish? Go
No,
on.
I was already giving the comments while you were running. It's just
Okay,
beautiful,
great.
At the end of the day, it's just, lovely, beautiful.
Scientific
Very,
morality, life is worthless. So let's learn more about this scientific atheism, the science. So science is not a moral system. It measures the material. You can measure how much something weighs or something like that, right? How much water is in a cup. Richard Dawkins said that belief in anything that cannot be scientifically proved, i.e., faith, is one of the world's great evils. So now Dawkins declares Skinner to be evil, right? Because Skinner, I mean, back to the guy earlier, he had faith in his beliefs, but he couldn't measure them. He couldn't prove them because Skinner said, I can't prove my statements, I can't prove my claims, but I believe these things are true, right? So Dawkins does not believe in evil. So how can he say that Christianity is evil if he doesn't believe that evil exists? So Dawkins says there at bottom, there's no design, there is no purpose in life, no evil, there's no good, there's nothing but pitiless indifference. And then he claims there is virtue in having no virtues. So he believes that free will does not exist. All your actions are determinist. It's basically materialistic determinism. But
So,
how are people blamed for faith when molecules caused it? Yes?
so let's go back. Crazy. Okay, so faith is evil, but he does not believe in evil. There's nothing, no design, no purpose, no evil, no good. Yet everything is governed by itself. But then suddenly, when there is a faith, faith is evil. You can't have faith. So, how does that make sense?
Yeah, but you have no free will. But if you have
So,
faith,
if you don't
means
have
that
free
you have no
will,
free
then what
will.
do you have? Like, so somebody created something without free will?
So you chose to have faith, so therefore you are acting in evil, but you have no free will. You can't choose what you do. This guy makes no sense at all. Dawkins is that, as a philosopher, the man's a complete idiot. So basically, this guy, William Provine, famous atheist, dead now, there is no ultimate foundation for ethics. There is no ultimate meaning in life. There is no free will for humans either. This is an unintelligible idea. You see, that's what atheists believe because, so you have no free will. There's no ethics. There's no morals. There's no choice.
So,
This
what
is
is
the
there?
kind of,
So, what are we, bacteria?
yes, yeah, you have no control. You're just yeah, I don't know. It's
So,
just
there's
really,
no ethics, no ultimate meaning in life. So, what are you? A bacteria who will just live his life
so
and die
basically the
eventually? Like,
philosophy boils down to do what makes you feel good now. You see, so if something makes you feel good, like let's say raping little, kitties
like
makes you feel
Muhammad did?
good, then do that because because what makes you feel good now because there's no purpose, that's good. What makes
Ah,
you feel good about life, that's good.
okay.
Yeah. So you're just a machine. Right. So now this is Sapiens, a brief history of humanity by Yuval Noah Harari. Whenever I listen to this guy on YouTube or read anything he writes, I feel like I need to take a shower afterwards. So he writes here, this is an atheist, human rights aren't real, but don't tell anyone. Human rights are subjective, right? We all like to think that individual humans are important, but they're not. You are not important. Don't get the wrong idea. As Yuval points out, there is nothing scientifically special about any human. You are not born in the image of God. You are not special, or you're just a sack of atoms. Apparently, our modern prioritization of the individual is a leftover from the Christian concept of souls. Remember, this is the very same attitude that Stalin had when he murdered 60 million people by sending them to the gulags. So Voltaire said about God that there is no God, but don't tell that to my servant, lest he murder me at night, which tells you about the hypocrisy of these people.
That is just so crazy. So, there is no God. Don't tell my servant he might kill me because he is not killing me because he reversed God and he thinks life is good and so it is what the hell is he talking about? Like he wants people
Yeah.
to just kill each other?
Well, I mean, that's why you lie to them. You give them fake religion. You give them secular humanism as a replacement because, to talk about the human rights, dignity of man, because you don't, so you're faking it because we don't believe in God, so you can't have, we believe in the sanctity of human life, but if we take that away, then you can just kill anyone without consequence because there's no God, there's no consequence, there's no hell, there's no punishment, there's no morals. You see, that's the problem that they have. So he writes here now, Homo sapiens has no natural rights, just as spiders, hyenas, and chimpanzees have no natural rights. But don't tell that to our servants, lest they murder us at night. That's really uplifting thinking, really uplifting. Thank you, atheists. So beware atheist governments. Individual atheists, like Christians and other people, often do good, right? Individual atheists can be very good. But atheist rulers, when atheism is in government, it is invariably murderous. So you'll have Lenin, Hitler, Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot. They tortured, they starved, and murdered more people in the 20th century than all of the combined religious regimes of the world during the previous 1,900 years. In fact, they murdered more people than all wars in the previous 2,000 years combined. Right? Atheists in the
But the
20th
answer would
century.
be because the previous years also did that, but in previous years we did not have a mass killing machines. So in the 20th century we had mass killing machines, so they did better.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the previous generation
but
did
it
the
just
same
shows,
thing, but they didn't have bombs and
but
planes
atheists
and
were still killing then, and atheists didn't become rational and non-murderous. They decided to wipe out the lesser people, right? Decided to kill off the religious.
perfect.
So the BBC did a war estimate, which with low numbers, right, in 2004, they said that atheist rulers killed as many as 110 million people, at least 60 million in the Soviet Union and its satellites, 40 million in China, 15 million Nazi Germany, 2 million Cambodia, 5 million elsewhere. That's a well-known historian, Jeffrey Burton Russell, well respected. So you've just got massive amounts of murder caused by, I won't go through the chart, we'll skip all that for now. So Stalin, by the way, was expelled from a Georgian Orthodox seminary. So he wasn't Catholic, he was a Georgian Orthodox, not even Eastern Orthodox, like Greek Orthodox or anything. He was expelled at the age of 19 or 20. I've actually read the biography, and it was written by his best friend, right? He was never a Catholic or even a Russian Orthodox. Georgia has its own church, of which he was a member by baptism. But atheism is fundamental to the rule of the Communist Party. And when you read his autobiography written by his friend, his best friend at the time, when they were teenagers together, he says he discovered Darwin. He read Darwin, and Darwin led him away from God and Christianity. And then he became a rabid communist because Marxism and Darwinism just go together really well. So in his
We
book,
have covered that in the part 1 of this video, FYI.
Say again, please.
I said to the people that we have covered that part in part 1 of this video.
Right.
Marxism, atheism, and communism going hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. So in his book, Homo Deus, right, man being God, basically, Yuval Noah Harari writes, despite all the talk of radical Islam and Christian fundamentalism, the most interesting place in the world, he says, from a religious perspective, is Silicon Valley, brewing for us brave new religions that have little to do with God. Because AI is going to replace us. We're going to make our own God. We're going to blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the next chapter, right? Now, this is the United States Court of Appeals for the DC Circuit, and this goes all the way up to the High Court eventually. Patrick Conroy, chaplain, right? And you've got here the brief blah, blah, blah. So this is the American Humanist Association. Right? This is a court document, it's a legitimate court document. It is therefore, the government must treat atheism as favorably as theistic religion. The government must treat atheism as a religion, just like it treats Christianity. What is true of atheism is equally true of humanism. This was the finding of the court, because atheists went to court to argue we are a legitimate religion. Atheism is a religion and must be treated just like any other religion. So it says we must recognize secular humanism as religion for the First Amendment. Non-theistic ethical society qualified for tax exempt as a church. In other words, our atheist society, we're a church now, we want to be tax exempt. You know, we need to make a little bit of money here. And that was the American Humanist Association. We must treat humanism as a religion for the Establishment Clause and Equal Protection Clause. And the prison department, because of this prisoner who didn't want to participate in religious activities, he violated both by refusing to recognize humanism, because he said, I'm a humanist, and that's my religion, because atheism is not a religion. And so they went to court to fight for this atheism to be a religion, on the same terms as theistic faiths, recognizing that humanism is a religion. And the Supreme Court has held that secular humanism, remember up here with atheism.
So
is a religion.
let me
Yeah.
get this straight. So the atheists right now crying out loud that atheism is not a religion. Uh, in the last 2 centuries, they were crying and fighting to be a religion,
Hmm.
and they got the approvals. Once they actually proved that it is a religion, they got the approvals that it is a religion. Now, when the Christians are saying atheism is a religion in itself, now they are saying, no, 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 it's not a religion.
Because in the 80s, I cover that in my other talks. In the 80s, they realized this put them in a very bad position. So they changed it from like 82 onwards. They started to change the message. Atheism is not a religion. Atheism is not a. They put that out across the magazines at the time, and now their position is it's not a religion because they realized if they're a religion, then they are, because remember they're going into schools. They want to make the schools atheist. They want to make the courts and the government atheist. They were taking over everywhere, and because they're a religion, they need to be banned from those places. So they didn't want to be banned because they wanted to make everything communist and atheist. So therefore, they're suddenly not a religion anymore.
So first they got all the benefits of being a religion. Now, when they want to ban the religion, they are suddenly not a religion. So it's
Yeah.
like a choose and flip and flop whenever they want to, kind of a thing. So it's all about killing humanity. And that's what the major atheists did. You know, as you have seen in the West, especially in America, that lady, I'm not going to name her, who was supposed to be the president, but thankfully Trump became the president. She said we need to reduce human population. Um, the guy who is the Microsoft, made the Microsoft, he actually said we need to reduce human population. But if you look at reduction in the human population in Italy, now they want to import people. So even to survive, you need 2.1 kids on the average to have the same culture and same society. But then these atheists actually destroyed the society, and now they are importing people from other countries, and they don't even know that they are importing the killing machines. As we know, we have seen that the amount of people killed by atheists versus Islam is the highest. And then eventually, what's going to happen? They think that they're gonna overtake them as well. But here they are so stupid and so ignorant at this place. And that is what's destroying the West at this moment. Like, it's eating the West from inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So this is atheism evolving. So now this is Julian Huxley, very well-known sort of scientific thinker, atheist, and he's a humanist, right? So remember, when you become a Christian, God is your Messiah. Jesus is God. This is God, not a human, right? So you are worshiping the Creator. Whereas in humanism, well, you're worshiping humans yourself. You are God, effectively. So he's a very well known. So use him as an example for typical sort of thinking of atheists. Julian Huxley, The Coming New Religion of Humanism. The Coming New Religion of Humanism, written in The Humanist in February 1962. A humanist-based religion must redefine divinity. Well, we're divine. I'm God because I'm an atheist and therefore I'm special. My IQ just went up 30 points. So good grief. I feel sure that the world will see the birth of a new religion
Hmm?
based on what I've called evolutionary humanism. Yes?
Oh, that's 1962.
Yep. This
So
is
less
common
than
language.
100 years, he was creating a new religion called humanism.
Yep. No, he wasn't the creator of humanism. He was promoting it. Humanism, you must go back to the late 20s and you find, but you see, this is the kind of language here you will find is common across all these people. This is just one example of many that speak this way. So he says the beliefs of this religion of evolutionary humanism are not based on revelation. No, no, no. A humanist religion will have the task of redefining good and evil. You see, in terms of fulfillment, I feel good about myself. I just built a new gulag for all these people that are still following religion. I built a new gulag to send them to. I feel fulfilled now, and of desirable or undesirable. Like my name is, I don't know, someone who wants to diddle little kids, and that's desirable for me. So good is what is desirable, and what is undesirable, like going to prison, that's undesirable. That's bad. You see? Do you understand what's happening here, Adam?
I can fully understand, and that's why you have, children being taken to an island where right now
Hmm.
Elon Musk is exposing the people at this moment, and they're doing that. So that's humanist. And now, thankfully, Elon Musk, he
Yeah.
he did a
So
podcast with Joe Rogan the other day. You might have watched it, where he actually said that if he will expose everything the way it is, he might be killed. He
yeah,
he
that's
just said
always a
that.
risk. That's a real risk. I mean, they nearly got Trump, right?
Yeah, and five attempts already, brother. You might know of one or two. There are five attempts. Thankfully, the other three they were actually captured way before, but there are five attempts, man.
Right. So this humanist religion will go further than the Greek principles of moderation. It will make psychological. You see, psychology has become the new, therapies become the new confession. Therapies become the new church, right? So psychological integration and total wholeness will be your aim. All of the all of that nonsense. And in some sense, psychology will become the equivalent of the state of salvation. There you go. So we're going to use psychology for that. Now, this is Charles Francis Potter, very well known in. So he writes here: is it religion? So education is the most powerful ally of humanism, and every American public school is a school of humanism. What can theistic Sunday schools, where you meet for an hour once a week and you teach only a fraction of the children, do to stem the tide of a 5-day program of humanistic teaching in schools? That's why it's not a religion anymore, because then they are forcing a religion on people in government. See?
Wow, perfect.
So this is not, he's not the only one to speak like this. You can find others. So he founded the first humanist church, New York. Humanist church. I thought they're not a religion. It's humanist church, 1929, New York City. He writes a book, Humanism, a New Religion. And he says humanism is not just another denomination of Protestant Christianity. It is a new type of religion, a new way of looking at religion. You have to make over and broaden your definition. It is a religion and a philosophy. You see? It's not a religion, obviously, we can tell. This is Free Inquiry, Atheist Magazine, 1984. I am convinced that the battle for humankind's future must be waged and won in the public school classroom by teachers who correctly perceive their role as the proselytizers of a new faith. Uh-huh.
And that's
This
what they
is,
have been doing.
yes. And this
They
is the
changed.
Atheist Magazine, right? This is an Atheist Magazine.
And by the way, somebody actually said that. I don't know. I can't see it here. Maybe. Yeah, this. They changed the school curriculum to make them be no child left behind, to make them all the same and not. But like, it's not just that. If you would see some of the videos that it happened in California, and the parents were fighting the school system of how disgusting and idiotic stuff that they are teaching in the school. It is crazy to the very least. And and by the way, I don't know, brother. Like, I need to emphasize this. I have done a video with Usama Dakdok. You might want
Mhm.
him to do that on your channel as well. The Western curriculum that has been changed in America, especially because that's where he is from, and he is talking about that. So in those curriculum, you will see the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him. And then when it's talking about Jesus, it's like
Oh,
uh,
that dude, Jesus, that other guy, right?
the Jesus, who according to Christianity is God incarnated. So
Yeah,
Muhammad is the prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But when we talk about Jesus,
least,
it's like
least upon
claimed,
him.
claimed by Christians. So you'll see a stark difference. And then whenever you'll see the curriculum. You need to do that videos with Usama Dakdok on your channel, the school curriculum, and you will know he has the screenshots of the books which they teach in high school and college. It is
Hmm.
crazy. So when you say this Free Inquiry newsletter about the school system and all, man, that just shows me exactly what Osama Dog has been showing. And it's like, it's crazy. Like when I see this, And when I see the books that they changed and the curriculum that they changed, it's like right on spot. It is right there, you know.
Yep. Yeah. So, no, agreed. There's been a lot of
So
things going
whatever
on.
they said 100 years ago or 50 years ago, uh, or whatever, they have
That's
implemented
enough.
it in the last 30 years. In the last 30
Yes.
years, so since 1990, they have implemented it, and they are destroying everything whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, they say these teachers must embody the same selfless dedication as the most rabid fundamentalist, right, religious fundamentalist preachers. And they will be ministers of another sort. They will use a classroom instead of a pulpit to convey humanist values in whatever subject they teach. And it says the classroom must and will become an arena of conflict between the old and the new, the rotting corpse of Christianity and the new faith of humanism. Yeah, but it's not a religion.
There we
Atheism
go.
is not a religion.
No, there we go. Like this is right on spot, and I cannot emphasize more, brothers and sisters who are watching my channel. Those videos are there in my channel as well. And Lloyd, people do not watch the old videos too much. I would encourage you that you're doing a stream with Usama Dakdog. Please do a couple of streams on the curriculum books with him
Okay,
that has been changed. It will be a marvelous stream. You gotta
right.
promote those and you gotta show them. It's right on the
Okay,
spot of this one.
I'm on with him tomorrow. So this is a couple of examples of America's Humanist Journal of Ideas. Blame religion, not just Trump. Deconstructing religion, the meaning of humanism, back to Yuval Noah Harari. Right, you've got humanism and suicide, a positive view. Do you want to kill yourself? Well, humanism's the religion for you. The positive side of murdering yourself. Why the Bible is so poorly written? Yes, yes, yes. So, have you thought of a humanism and suicide? Like the positive side of suicide. I mean, this is definitely life affirming, right?
Uh, positive side of suicide? Is there
Suicide, yeah, yeah.
is
Murder
there a
yourself.
positive? Is there,
According to them, yes. According to them, special blasphemy issue, defending the right to blaspheme. Okay, so now we go to this guy, Ludwig Feuerbach. This man was highly influential.
no, hold on. Come back. Uh, what did you say about blasphemy? The right to
Now, this one
blaspheme?
here,
Yeah. So say it again, please.
So this is defending the right to blaspheme and special
Okay.
blasphemy issue. Yeah.
Perfect. Now stop here. So these secular atheists in the West, they can blaspheme anybody. Why can't they blaspheme Muhammad? Why Chat GPT? And let me just say it again because I've done that and showed it in the past. You can ask Chat GPT to make a joke on everybody, and it will do it. But when you will ask it to make a joke on Muhammad, it will not do it. Why
Yep.
is it that you can make a cartoon of Jesus, but you cannot make a cartoon of Muhammad? Why is it that blasphemy is allowed for everybody, but not for the Islamic people? No, this
Oh,
is
well,
hypocritical.
well, well. You have to wonder, right? You have to wonder, you know?
So what you're telling me is, and it's been like 1.5 presentation gone, like half of today and one part one. What you're telling me is that atheism and the values of atheism perfectly aligns with Islam.
To a fair degree, there's a certain culture of death. There's a certain communal, it's like communistic. It's the ummah, your socialists, your communists, yeah. There's in fact the word communist is actually a play on Catholic, universal. So they are the communism is universal. It's another Latin form of universal, like Catholic. So they basically are trying to be the godless Catholic Church. They're trying to be universal, and the ummah
Yeah,
is
but
supposed
like,
to be for the whole world, and the communists the same.
But the absurdity in this statement is that somehow they want to align with a particular God and join hands, yet they're atheist.
Yeah, weird. Because they're anti-Christians, you see, because these groups are both anti-Christian.
You
So
know, that's
that's the
why
commonality.
David would put an image sometime in the past. I'll show it. So please continue. I'll show the image. I'll find the image and
Right.
I'll show it to you.
So Ludwig Feuerbach is very important because he is the philosopher that heavily influenced Marx, Engels, and then by extension Lenin and Stalin and so on, right? He was a radical atheist as well. He lived from 1804 to 1872. So he writes, what yesterday was still religion is no longer such today. And what today is atheism, tomorrow will be religion. Because the leading atheist philosophers were wanting to establish atheism as the only religion on the planet, right? He is only a true atheist to whom the predicates of the divine being, for example, love, wisdom, and justice, are nothing. A true atheist doesn't give two rats about love, wisdom, and justice because they don't exist, right? They come from God, right? So God gives us these things, and therefore there must be nothing to you because there is no justice, because there's no morality. There's no love. There's only self. There's only what you can do for yourself. There's only self-interest.
Right on spot. Right on spot.
Yeah. And wherever morality is based on theology, wherever right is made dependent on divine authority, the most immoral, unjust, infamous things can be justified and established. That's Ludwig Feuerbach in his book, The Essence of Christianity. But we know that when atheism removed Christianity, they descended into barbarism and mass genocide immediately, right? So,
And
though
that's what
I
history
myself am an
tells us.
atheist,
And
say
that's what
again?
history tells us.
Yeah, no, exactly. So he says, though I myself am an atheist, I openly profess religion in the sense just mentioned, that is a nature religion. See, atheism is the natural religion. You see, Christianity is a corruption. It's a natural religion you get from nature, which is also known as paganism. Atheism, at the end of the day, when you do a final analysis, it's really paganism with extra steps. It comes down to paganism with extra steps.
Absolutely. Let me show it to you now. I found it out. There you go. This
Okay,
is what
great.
David Wood posted uh, February 4th. British atheists, British Muslims joining hands together to destroy Christianity. And that's exactly what we
Yeah,
see. He just put a perfect image right there on February 4th, 2025 this year. And it's just so clear what you are showing right now. It's just literally so clear.
yeah. So Feuerbach writes, if my work is negative, irreligious, atheistic, let it be remembered that atheism, at least in the sense of this work, is the secret of religion itself. Atheism is the secret of religion, you see. Religion itself fundamentally believes in nothing else than the truth and divinity of human nature, you see, because you are God. You see?
Are you sure?
The God was human wish fulfillment. So to be able to do whatever you want without restriction, that's being God. You see? So this is how atheists, these are the priests of atheism, these are the founders of modern atheism, these are the top philosophers of modern atheism, the people who defined and practiced and implemented atheism. Thanks, Lilo Main. She says I have to head home, but we'll be listening. Thank you very much for the support earlier. And now again,
Oh, let me
Will,
just show
you
it.
take
Let
care.
me just show it while you are showing it. There you go. This is on your channel, Mary Alex.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Alex. Really appreciate it. Yeah,
My
so
channel,
the man
did he?
behind Marx. Oh,
Let me just
great.
say that.
Wow.
Did he gifted one membership? Appreciate it. And then we put this one as well while you were thanking people. Did he said humanity is hateful all the time. I don't think I've lived through a goddamn day without something horrible happening around the world as a result of human beings. Exactly. Human beings are naturally inclined to get whatever they want to get unless there are some restraints. And these restraints are destroyed by these atheist theologies and hence you don't have restraints in actual. So thank you so much for your financial support, everyone. Yes, brother.
Oh, thank you, guys. So let me see. So he says here that man created God in his own image, you see. So that's what we did. You see, it's not, God didn't create us. You see, we created God in our image. So God is nothing else than human. He's the outward projection of a human's inward nature. You see, a God who is not benevolent, is not just, is not wise, is no God. You see, qualities are not noted as divine because of their godly association. The qualities themselves are divine. So be very careful. What he's saying is here that you see how wise I am? I just did something really smart. That makes me godly because look how smart I am. I'm so wise. Look at me. You see, I was just. See, I did something that was very just. That's because I'm godly. I have godly talents. I'm being godly right now. You understand that also he is now the arbiter of what is just. He's the arbiter of what is wise, what is benevolent, what is smart. You see, so he's very self-serving philosophy. So God is the principle of man's salvation and of man's good dispositions and his actions. Consequently, God is man's own good principle and nature. You see, I'm a good guy, therefore I'm God. You see how godly I am because I made myself into God because I'm better than you. See? You understand how this works, Adam? You can see this, right?
Oh, works perfectly, brother.
And
All the time.
Friedrich Engels, who wrote the Communist Manifesto, which was previously known as the Communist Catechism of Faith, which was modeled on the idea of the Catholic Catechism of Faith, right? Because it
Which was
was a
shown in
religious
part one.
text.
Which was shown in
Yeah,
part one. Everybody, go watch part one to read the manifesto. It was shown.
yeah. Before they changed the name and they realized, yeah, that looks a little bit religious, so let's change it. Friedrich Engels, friend of Karl Marx, all of the communists of 1845 were followers of Feuerbach. You see, they were all taking these religious ideas. And so he writes, okay, so he writes here. Now, this is humanism. This is 1935. This is a thesis from Boston University. And now we trace it back to the 5th century BC, right? Now, the term humanism, right? The term can be used to describe the intellectual movement of the 5th century BC in Greece. And these were pagans, right? Don't forget, these were Greek pagans. This was initiated by the sophists and carried on by Socrates. Now, the sophists, when we say you're a sophist, that means you are someone who lies. Sophistry is very clever sounding, but false language. It's very clever argumentation that sounds good, but is completely false. It's the way politicians speak. They speak in riddles and speak in circles, and they can never admit they're wrong. So he says the spirit of this movement is well expressed in that famous maxim given to posterity by Protagoras: man is the measure of all things. So this is a pagan philosopher who said that man is the measure of all things. So you are the decider of all that is good, all that is evil. If you don't like something, it's evil. If you like something, it's good. You see? So these philosophers, these modern atheist philosophers in the 21st century are simply copying what the Greek pagans were saying 2,500 years ago.
Right on spot, brother. What can I say?
Right.
Right on spot.
So now back to Potter. We mentioned Potter earlier, and he says Potter and Salaz, that's another guy who was also a big humanist, atheist guy, they do not believe that there is any object in the universe higher than man. And they said humanism is faith in man. You see, faith in man, faith in ourselves, because we are gods. We are elevated, we're ascended, we're evolved to be gods, you see. So so that's fantastic. You see, so Charles Francis Potter, let's go back to, I've got a typo there, indoctrination. So he says, we've already covered this, right? Indoctrination. So he writes a book here called Humanism and New Religion, right? He also wrote a book called The Lost Years of Jesus Revealed, which is Gnostic as hell and just based on garbage, right? From the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi discoveries. Basically, the guy is taking Gnostic texts from the 5th century, 4th century, and he's saying, well, I figured out where Jesus was, okay? So he basically gets into all the Gnostic nonsense. But he says the old God is gone. We can no longer believe in the God these people believed in. Those who are called atheists today will be hailed as prophets of a new religion by our grandchildren. So so these people all claiming that they're starting a new religion based on truth because man, is the ultimate God. And this is Salaz, right? So He's the author of the 1933 Humanist Manifesto. So there were 3 Humanist Manifestos written. The first one said a little bit too much that was very religious, because that's the Atheist Manifesto, right? And then the second one they modified, and the third one they had to clean it up. But he says a religion that is founded on realities in a religion coming of age. That's humanism, a religion. Of course, you speak to atheists, like when I was on with Nuria Khan. She was, I'm an atheist and I'm a humanist because I don't believe in religion. Well, all the humanists who founded humanism said it was a religion. And he said this in his groundbreaking work, Religion Coming of Age, in 1928. So somehow the atheist founders of humanism didn't realize it wasn't a religion. So a religion capable of furnishing adequate social goals.
Pause. So basically what you're telling me is, just like 90% of the Muslims in the West do not know what they have accepted, 90% of Muslims who accept Islam do not know what they have accepted because they have not been told the truth
Pretty much.
from the early Islam. Same is the case that 90% of the atheists who accept atheism do not
No
know
idea.
how it got originated and what is the teaching of atheism. Is that
No
what you're
idea.
saying?
No idea, because atheists are all about, well, you see, I define my own gender. You see, I'm pan-gender queer unicorn sex. And it's no different from I define what I believe because I define my own religion, or they'll make up some story. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. They have no idea of the history and of the founders of this philosophy that they've bought into, what this word means throughout history.
Perfecto.
Yeah. So he writes here, so to establish such a religion is a major necessity. That's in the first Humanist Manifesto. He says, it's a great mistake to go to science to find out what religion is. All science can do is to help us decide what religion we should not believe in. Christianity, of course. The American Humanist Association honored Roy Wood Sellers, who claimed that traditional religion is dying and humanism is becoming the new religion. The cool kids are all doing it. So he's known for his defense of religious humanism, the view that religion must be reinterpreted, which is what Marx did and what everyone else did, in terms of its role in improving humanity's this worldly existence. Even the Nazis did it. So he writes here also the reinterpretation of democracy. Now hold on. An influential man is reinterpreting religion to make man a god, but he also wants to reinterpret democracy. And maybe they went into government and they decided, we like this Marxist idea of totalitarian and communism. We need to put this into democracy in America. Do you understand the kind of problems that can arise out of this?
Brother, there's no problem. It's the most humanist religion, They love
Yeah,
humans.
no, it's humanist. So it's, but you make up good. You see, good is what you define as good. Good is what you decide. You personally make a decision as to what is good.
Yeah, I want to have sex with a new girl every day, so that is good, brother. Because
Yeah,
I
of course, because it
defined
makes
it
you
good.
feel good, right?
It makes me feel perfectly good, man. Every new chick every day, I want to put a pin on every island and every country and every state of the entire world that I have, done that. I don't even want to say what I've done. That's
Yeah.
good. That is good, brother. That is good.
So this, as you know, atheism, if you read Harris, if you read Dawkins, and all these other whack jobs, they'll all tell you atheism has nothing to do with communism. Don't let these Christians lie to you. They've got nothing. Jihad has nothing to do with Islam, And Muhammad Jihad, who just went on a bridge yelling Allahu Akbar and murdered a lot of people, nothing to do with Islam. He's not a real Muslim. And so atheists will tell you, yeah, this has got communism, nothing to do with atheism. Let's have a look at this guy, reinterpretation of democracy. Let's have a look at that. The next step in democracy are Sellers, and you could buy this for $1.50 back in the day. He wants to give a clear idea of advances in social, economic, and political life which appeal to the intelligent man, and practical reforms and social experiments which mark the onward movement, the progressive movement of democracy into 3 stages. The stage of status, primitive socialism. Did we just drop straight into communism like that? So you have
Just like that.
just like that. And you see the stage of individualism, the police power view of the state. Wait, did he just say police state? As in totalitarian police state, and then the stage of socialism, a democratic movement, an economic reorganization of society, maximum justice, liberty, and efficiency with the police power of the state. Don't forget the gradual socializing of industry, and the extent that communism, you get it? Communism. Atheism and communism are like bum chums, man.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Yeah, you understand? So the two go together. Atheism and communism go together like the two Scottish gays, Gerald Fitzpatrick and Patrick Fitzgerald.
Ha! Right on spot, brother. Right on spot.
So, A Religion for a New Age, the last 10 pages. So, John Dunphy, the humanist, January, February 1983, he says, the battle for humankind's future must be won in the classroom, right? We've already spoken about that, but this is the guy here with his cat. And then we will say with Tom Paine that the world is my country, all humankind are my brethren. We need to get rid of borders because you see, once we've imposed, neutral atheism on everyone, then we are friends with everyone. We all believe the same things, don't we? Because doing good is my religion. You see, doing good. It will undoubtedly be a long, arduous struggle, replete with much sorrow and many tears. But humanism, this communist humanism, will emerge triumphant. It must, if the family of humankind is to survive. So the only way that you can survive is with communism, dressed up as humanism.
They have created a only thing, just like just this or nothing else. And that's like when I listen to these things and that you're showing, it reminds me of certain atheists that I know. For example, Haris Sultan, that we know is a Pakistani, so I know him really well. For him, it's either atheism or nothing else. So it's the same like Islam. So it's either Islam, nothing else. It's either atheism or nothing else, and that's how they work and perceive.
Yeah. Socialism is evil. I mean, for instance, I just learned today that they're killing Skype on May the 1st. That is one of the worst things to ever happen in the history of the world. So that alone makes me against socialism. All right, so let me continue. We've only got the last 10 slides to go, so I'll finish these slides. So I might have repeated a couple of things from the previous talks, so let's hope it's not too much. But are there any questions in the chat? So let me know if there's questions. I will try to keep eye out on those. Someone did mention, and it's true, communism is the end goal. Communism is the Garden of Eden. Socialism is the vehicle, the method. Socialism is the philosophy, the economic method, but really it's a moral system. It's their idea of a moral system or religious system. Socialism is how we get to the end state of communism. The end state of communism is where the state withers away. There's no government. Everyone just magically somehow has food. Everyone somehow has a place to stay because everyone gives everything to everybody and everybody has enough. And then you have no government. There's no evil. There's no crime. Everything just works somehow. The state withers away and people are just wandering around, skipping through the valleys. So that's communism. That's the end. That's the Garden of Eden. That's the equivalent of the Garden of Eden. And of course, socialism requires violence. It's jihad. It explicitly requires violence because you have thesis, antithesis, and then they fight and eventually get a synthesis. So it's got its own jihad, and then it leads to the next level, and then it repeats the jihad, gets to the next level. So it's inherently revolutionary. Just keep that in mind. So this is now United States Court of Appeals. I'm not sure this is the same one. Yes, we've already covered this one. So the government must treat atheism. So this eventually went all the way to the Supreme Court. And it was decided ultimately that atheism is a religion, and under US law, atheism is a religious system. Right. Why did the comment about maid just vanish? No idea. So now let's have a look at this discussion. Those of you who've been on my channel will have seen this before, but let's see how far back we can trace woke, right? The Congresswomen, woke in what year? The women of the city were wearing beards and were dressed in men's clothing. They come to the assembly, the government assembly, and by a majority vote, they pass a resolution transferring all power in the state to women. They use this power to introduce a series of measures, which are expounded in a dialogue between somebody, the leader of the women, and a husband. Here are several quotations. So this person says, we need compulsory, universal community property. That is what I propose. And across the board, we need economic equality. We need to fill all of those empty holes, those fissures that scar our society's face, those gaps. No more will there be a division between rich and poor. And we will all wear the same clothes. I wonder if we saw that in communist China under Mao Zedong. We'll all wear the same clothes, the communist uniform, and we will share the same food. My initial move will be to communalize all the land and the money. See, communalize, communism. We will communalize the land, the money, and all other property. We'll take the landless man. Well, but take the landless man who's invisibly wealthy, right? He doesn't own land, but he's got money because he hides his silver and gold in his pockets. What about him? Oh no, he will deposit all his money in the fund. In other words, we'll steal his money. You know, this will be expropriation without compensation. Anyone heard of that from the ANC in South Africa? He'll deposit all his money in the fund. We'll take his money, expropriation without compensation. We will knock out the walls and we will, no walls, no borders. I wonder what that idea fits. We'll remodel the city into one big happy household. We'll all get along. You know, it's all going to be, you know, it's all, you know, we'll all be one family, it'll be, there's a word for that, I'm sure, you know, I'm sure there's a term that describes all of these different groups living together in peace and harmony, where all can come and go as they choose because there's no borders. We don't believe in borders. I'm pulling the women and I'm creating a public hoard for the use of every man. So we're going to put the women in a little harem and the men can use them who wishes to take them to bed and make babies because there'll be no family-based system. There'll be babies that are just made because there's no families, but we need babies, right? A system like this requires a pretty wise father to know his own children. And age is the new criterion. Children will trace their descent from all men who might have, because the state will own the children, you see. And who's going to work the land and produce the food? The slaves, of course. What are you thinking? The slaves. This leaves you just one civic function. When you see when it becomes night, you will slip down to dinner, you know, and the state is not going to be shy. US aid, its hand is full and open. US aid is going to open its coffers. It's going to open the government. It's going to steal your taxes and just give them to everybody who comes on a little rowboat across the ocean. Its heart is large. It'll stuff its menfolk free of charge. Then it'll issue them torches when the dinner is done and send them out to hunt for fun. Now, this is called Ecclesiazusei, or the Congresswomen. It's a play by a playwright called Aristophanes. This play was written about 2,500 years ago. Now you'll notice, you'll find here, yes, this villainous, this description is supposed to be attractive. Yeah, this is insane, but this was a parody of what was being said in Greece at the time by these sophists, by these woke pagans. You see, so Aristophanes decided to make fun of them. So these ideas, these woke ideas, these feminist ideas, these communist, socialist ideas are not new. These are the ideas. Remember I said that modern wokery, right? Modern atheism is just paganism with extra steps. So this is the same set of ideas that the communists are using, that the woke are using. These are just 2,500, 3,000-year-old pagan ideas. And now we're seeing them today just in a modern Western context. It's the same ideas. It's paganism all over again. So it's Aristophanes, Ecclesiazusei. Let me just get this for you. Let me just grab this. Here it is, Aristophanes, Ecclesiazusei, or the Congresswomen. So I took out the names just so that you wouldn't immediately realize that this is like some Greek play. But yeah, so this is what this is. Understand? So there's nothing new. All of these communists, they're just repeating pagan ideas. There's nothing scientific about it. It's paganism, pure and simple. So let's have a look at this word. What is this communism? Communism is from Latin communis, or common, or universal. Just like the word Catholic is from Latin catholicus, via Greek katholikos, meaning universal, right? So you've got from the Greek kata holos, right? So the universal, and kata holos, right? So the first use of the term Catholic Church, literally meaning the universal church, was by the church father Saint Ignatius of Antioch in his letter to the Smyrnians in 110 AD. Now you've got the communists coming along who create this communist confession of faith, which they changed to the Communist Manifesto with Marx and Engels. And now they're trying to duplicate their ideas, their pagan ideas, as a new religion and calling it a political system. So, yep, let's continue. A place where no one works and all greet them, and there are women available for the men to go and shag. Doesn't that sound like Islamic paradise? Yeah, it could be a little bit like that. You know, you see the parallels and overlaps. Now let's have a look at the American Humanist Association and Lenin. Okay. Yeah, women are always degraded, J. Alfred Prufrock says, in these stupid Gnostic pagan ideas. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so let me see. All right, now, one of the most important tasks of the Cultural Revolution affecting the wide masses is the task of systematically and unswervingly combating religion, the opium of the people, the drug that keeps you from realizing that you are God, which is the Gnostic idea. So the proletarian government must withdraw all state support from the church, which is the agent, separation of church and state in America, which is not in the Constitution, but was enforced by these Democrats. You know, I wonder where they got this idea. So the church is the agency of the former ruling class. It must prevent all church interference in state-organized educational affairs and ruthlessly suppress the counter-revolutionary activity of the ecclesiastical organizations. Think about, for instance, how the woke infected the FBI, infected the NSA, CIA, and they actually then started running spying operations on like Catholic groups, right? Look at Tulsi Gabbard recently. She fired more than 100 people who were involved in a pornographic workplace forum discussing all of their LGBT nonsense, right? And so these people were they're going after the Catholic Church first, of course. But here you've got the same ideas that the communists had, which come from these crazy woke Greeks. And you see them in practice, in effect, today, but just with the characteristics, not of the Russian culture, but simply characteristics of Los Angeles, Western culture. So, yeah, scratch it all pagan and atheist beliefs, and sooner or later you'll find Gnosticism. Agreed, Alexander. So at the same time, the proletarian state will.
And by the way, didn't you do a full stream about Gnosticism and the similarities of Gnosticism with Islam?
I believe I have. I've done many different episodes on Gnosticism. I've done a whole bunch of different series on Gnosticism. I still have to do one more. I have one more to do on Gnosticism. Yeah.
And you made one where and I think you when you were live with me in one of the streams, you said that you will actually do a stream with me sometime soon where you will show Islam and Gnosticism.
Yeah,
Have you done that?
Islam is explicitly Gnostic. In the Sharia, at least, it says it's explicitly Gnostic. And they state
Man, so this goes hands in hand again. So Islam is Gnosticism, and atheism, if you scratch the surface, it goes back to Gnosticism.
Pagan Gnosticism, yeah.
So like it's all hand in hand. Like they work together.
Technically, Gnosticism comes out of really the 3rd century, 4th century. So technically, prior to that, it was more like Hermeticism and paganism. So, but the Gnostic strain of thought, that idea is there. It fully expresses itself after Christianity is established. So, but yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
By 6th century, Gnosticism is fully established, right?
4th century, yeah, more or less 5th century, yeah.
And here comes Islam then. So they fully align with each other.
Good point. Yes, good. In fact, if you look at the Gnostic texts, right, the Gnostic Gospels, Islam in the Quran and other sources, it repeats how many of the Gnostic stories. Think about it. The story of the clay birds, that's a Gnostic story. You know, that Muhammad Jesus brings to life the clay birds. That's all Gnostic stories. Islam repeats a bunch of Gnostic stories.
So we have Gnosticism, Gnostic stories, which are part of the Quran. And then in Sharia, if you look at it, you have shown me a couple of sentences from the Sharia manuals where it talks about Gnosticism to be prevailed through Islam.
Yeah, correct. The kind of thinking prevailed, exactly. So remember, everyone, because it's subjective, everyone can do it the way they want. So they just mixed it up the way they liked.
Perfect.
Like
MashaAllah.
all of these people are making up their own religions. You can see their similarities across all these religions, but you can see the similarities. I mean, they're different, but they're all the same, you know. So yeah.
Perfecto.
So they say here, the proletarian state must grant liberty of worship and abolish the privileged position of the dominant religion. So you must give, you have to, once they pay the jizya, you can let them have freedom of religion, because Christians under Islam will have freedom of religion. You have freedom of religion, you see. They must abolish the privileged position of the formerly dominant religion. But then he contradicts himself and says, and you must carry on anti-religious propaganda with all of the government means at your command. And you must reconstruct the whole of the educational work on the basis of scientific materialism, which is a phrase that atheists use today. So in other words, look, no, we were going to give the Christians all the right to practice religion, except we're going to turn the government against them. We're going to carry out anti-religious propaganda. We're going to change the schools. We're going to enforce scientific materialism on their children, but they've got freedom of religion, even though we're going to be putting them in lockup and they'll disappear and never be seen again, but they've got freedom of religion, for sure. True story. See?
MashaAllah.
Yeah. So Richard Dawkins launches into a full-on appeal for atheists to make public their beliefs, and you must aggressively fight the incursion of religion into politics and education, because he's listening to Lenin here, you see. You must carry on anti-religious propaganda with all government means at your command and reconstruct the whole of the educational work on the basis of communist materialism. Just like Dawkins says, aggressively fight the incursion of religion. You see, and others wondered whether his strident approach could do more harm, but it looks like Dawkins has been reading Vladimir Lenin. You see the parallel here?
Absolutely.
So Dawkins says in his TED Talk, there's no room for a God in the world as he sees it, and he believes atheists should be forceful in opposing religion.
Forceful.
Because
Just like Islam, forceful.
you
So
must be harsh
dude,
against the unbeliever, right?
yeah, this
Yeah.
this is like perfectly aligned. I don't know what, like, so when David Wood said that Islam is aligning with atheism in the Britain, like all of the things that you're telling me about atheism are perfectly aligning, like left, right,
The
and center.
same ideas. It's the same totalitarian ideas. It's the same thinking, the same ideas, the same methods. The Sharia just formalized it at all. But you see, Richard Dawkins, now you could ask yourself, is Richard Dawkins a rabid communist or just a normal atheist? You see, is he a peaceful atheist or is he a extremist? Is he a atheist? Is he an atheist or just a normal peaceful atheist?
By the way, extremist is not a bad word. We have made it a bad word in the last 20 years or 25 years. Being extreme is not bad. For example, if somebody is extreme generous, nobody will call him to be a bad person. Like,
Yeah,
it's the ideology in which you go extreme makes you bad. So if the ideology has inherently bad stuff in it, being extreme in that ideology makes you a bad person. But if the
yeah. No, I
ideology
mean, imagine
inherently is
you.
good, being extreme will not make you bad.
Yeah, I mean, Jains are radically peaceful, and that's fine with me. You know, they want to be chilled and relaxed. That's cool. I'm good with that kind of extremism.
Yeah, like a very good example of Jains. Like, if you talk about Jains, then yeah, the more you do go extremist in Jain, you'll be better. You'll be a good person.
Yeah.
As an
So yeah, no, for sure. So you can see you've got this fight the disbelievers, right?
mm-hmm.
You can see, I mean, atheism in Islam, so Richard Dawkins is promoting, whether or not you know it, maybe he's too stupid to know himself, but he's promoting exactly the same kind of thing that led to genocides under the Soviets. Richard Dawkins is a fucking idiot. So now let's have a look at abortion and infanticide and Planned Parenthood. So large families, right? This is from a book written by a certain woman. We'll have a look at her in a moment. And for the sake of those who find difficulty in adjusting old-fashioned ideas to the facts. Now, I guess you kind of figure out that this woman's an atheist and she's a socialist. And she says the most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. Now, notice she's
Huh?
not talking about
What?
abortion here. Yeah, just read it again, Adam. Just read it. Tell me if I read it wrong.
Uh, the most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant member is to kill it? Like,
Yes.
really?
Yes.
No. So the pro-choice and pro-choice and what is the other? I forgot. By the way, I'm pro-choice. You know that, right, Lloyd?
No idea. I have no idea. So,
I'm absolutely pro-choice. So, but like I give choice to the child whether he wants to live or not. But
right.
the pro-choice movement is giving the choice to the female. But like I'm pro-choice in a way that I'm saying give the right to the child whether he wants to live or not. So ask the child if he wants to live or not. So the question is like this pro-choice movement is coming from this atheism,
Yep. Yep. And yep. So
but
let's
not
have a
my
look.
pro-choice. My pro-choice is different. Okay, my pro-choice is I'm pro-choice. I am pro-choice absolutely 120%. And
No.
I want to give the choice to the child to whether he wants to live or not. So until the child says no, 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 mother, you can't abort. But this abortion and pro-choice movement and all that kind of stuff is
This
coming
is not
from this
abortion.
atheism.
This is post-birth abortion. Infant means baby up to an age of a year old, typically.
No kidding. That's even more disturbing. That's even more disturbing.
Yeah.
But
Remember,
like
she
once
said
again, like
infant.
killing a fetus. By the way, if anybody who does not know what fetus is, go. It's a Latin word. It means little baby. Fetus means little baby, and they're like, "Hey, it's just a fetus." Okay, do you know what fetus means? It's a Latin word. It means little baby. So this whole movement of pro-choice, when they use the words fetus or stuff like that, that is literally disturbing because just study. Fetus means infant, baby. All right.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's infant, not fetus. So
Mm.
the second thing is that if you look into it, if a woman is carrying a baby and somehow you are sitting in a car and ram her, you will be a double homicide. It will be called a double homicide. If you
Yeah.
kill a woman, it will be called a double homicide. Now, the problem is when the baby is in the mother's womb and somehow that mother is killed in an accident or being killed by some crackhead who shoots at her or put a knife at her on her, it is called double homicide. But once the mother wants to kill the fetus, so called, which is
It's all
actually
good.
infant baby, that is not murder. That is just so stupid. So mother
Yeah.
can kill a child and it's not called, baby, but if somebody else does that, then it's double homicide. It
Yeah.
is literally but this is what it is. Like this is exactly what it is saying. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant member is to kill it. That's stupidity. Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
Please continue, sir.
So this, of course, is the compassion of these woke atheists, right? The compassion of the communists, the socialists. It means to be a good person to be a communist. You'll hear that. I've heard that. So anyway, this is Margaret Sanger. She founded the American Birth Control League in 1921. She was a nurse. She opened the first birth control clinic in Brooklyn in 1916. And she's a feminist icon and a pioneer in killing babies legally in the name of science, i.e., eugenics. So Darwinian eugenics is a discredited belief in improving the human race through selective breeding. You can even find writings from Richard Dawkins promoting it, though. Also, it uses warfare. Now, World War One was actually based on Darwinian ideology, Darwinian ideas. So that the Germans had taken the ideas from Darwin and said, okay, we want to purify the human race. Let's kill everybody. Let's just kill all those that are. No, quite literally, that's what happened. That's actually what
No.
happened.
Really?
Yes, man, you got to read
Theory?
Darwin. You have to read Darwin. The guy was fucking crazy.
So you No, that's not possible. Really? Is that?
Darwin was a nut job. You got to read Darwin. He was probably a psychopath. The man was a nut job. Honestly, you got to read Darwin. So I did the whole Darwin series. You'd be amazed how sick atheism is, how sick Darwin was, and the people who followed him. These were murderous,
So to
genocidal maniacs.
cleanse the humanity, just kill everyone
Pretty
and
much that
just
was the
bring in
idea.
selective breeding? What
Pretty
is the
much.
selective breeding?
Yeah, look, let's get into that another time. I mean, let's get into that another time. So,
Okay,
but when you
I'm
reject,
sorry, but like this is interesting. I've never heard of
oh,
that, by the way.
but
But
anyway, so
you
you're
gotta
going to use
you gotta
warfare. Yeah.
you gotta come back again and tell me about this Darwinism and his theories, because this is crazy.
Yeah, that story is insane. Darwin is it's insane when you find out. Anyway, so you've got also warfare targeted at poor people, the disabled, anyone you dislike, and non-Aryans in one egregious examples. Okay, so non-Aryans is shall we say Nordic white people, right? From 1952 to 59, she was president of the International Planned Parenthood. It's actually Planned Murder Federation. It's not being a parent. It's actually, I don't know why they call it Planned Parenthood. They're so good at these euphemisms. It's non-parenthood association, right? Known for planning to kill babies for the reasons Sanger gives above. Her father was a free-thinking atheist. You see the Freethinkers magazine, right? Freethinker means atheist. She joined the New York Socialist Party, right? And Marx, Lenin, Stalin, and Mao were also socialists. She kept great company. She published 8 issues of the feminist magazine, The Woman Rebel, with the motto, no gods and no masters, because no God's going to tell me what to do. She had articles on sex education, abortion, and the injustices that capitalism inflicted upon women. So, Dawkins
Wow.
and Singer, murder, it's okay, Sanger, should be Sanger. Richard Dawkins, prominent atheist, evolutionary biologist, he's a vocal critic of Christianity. And of course, he's used Darwinian science to argue against Christian ethics. And he says that morality is the result of natural selection and that religious moral codes are not necessary. Singer, Peter Singer, philosopher, bioethicist, also used Darwinian ideas to challenge Christian ethics. And he thinks voluntary euthanasia is morally justified. In other words, if you want to kill yourself, the MAID laws in Canada, I want to kill myself, I'm feeling depressed, or I'm getting old, let me kill myself, or I'm disabled, I should die. So disabled non-persons may be killed. Now, the reason I had this here with Luther was that the Nazis justified, because the Nazis murdered well over 100,000, maybe a 250,000 disabled people, mentally disabled, physically disabled people with health conditions. The Nazis murdered roughly, we don't know exactly, 160,000, 250,000 of these. And they justified it because Martin Luther, in his writings, explicitly stated that people who are mentally ill don't have a soul, they're just sacks of meat, and you can kill them. In fact, there was one boy who was 12 or so, 10 or 12. He was mentally ill with some disease. I can't remember the name of it. And Martin Luther wrote, this boy is possessed by the devil. The best thing we can do is to put a pillow over its face and kill it or drown it in the river. That was his recommendation. So
But
religiously,
to a certain extent, euthanasia is like we have gone too far
euthanasia,
out.
yeah, euthanasia, yeah.
We have gone too far out in euthanasia. But to
Mm.
a certain extent, this is like literally not a bad thing. For example, if there is a psycho killer, it's better to kill him, like
Yeah, but if you're going to
hang him
take
till
people
death.
with mental illness, like people with, let's say, Down syndrome, they're going to kill you because
No, but
that
like
was
that's what
effectively,
I'm saying. This is another extreme. Like Down syndrome people, I've seen them doing their work, job, and everything. Down syndrome people are not bad, but there are certain areas where. So what like I don't know. Sometimes, for example, like look at it. So I'm gonna be devil's advocate over here at this moment, and you can definitely disagree
mm,
with me over here. In the Second World War, and I've seen a lot of movies, and the people that uh, you know, the older people that I spoke with, when the bomb blasted or they put their leg on a mine, they know that they are going to die miserably, so they'll take extra morphine to just die slowly.
mhm.
My means painlessly, die painlessly rather than dying. That is like so they're like I cannot just say that
Yeah, that's a
euthanasia or
personal choice. But
euthanasia.
what I mean is, this was a decision. For instance, these people are saying no child that is born should be considered a person for at least 30 days, right? So the parents can make the decision to
No,
kill
that's
that
just
child.
stupid. No, that's just stupid
No,
extreme.
but that's what the Romans did. That's what the Romans allowed. See, the
Really?
Romans allowed that. Yes, that was a Roman policy. The Romans
That's
allowed
like
it throughout.
before. That's like BC.
Yes, this was so they just bringing back paganism. Remember, I said it's paganism. So now
Oh.
you see, now here that we're talking about, if they said, look, they said all of these disabled people, all of these mentally ill people, all of these cripples and whatnot, these people are bringing down the quality of the genes in society. We need to kill them. We need to purify society by murdering all those who are not
Now
perfect physical specimens.
that goes bad.
Understand? And this now, as I said, this just to finish on that point, this was something that Martin Luther had written was what should be done because he considered these people not human. So the Nazis justified it on the basis of those writings. Okay, let's move on. So in Roman
Sorry about
society, the
that. Sorry
common,
about the statements. But like this now, the next point clears it. So sorry.
yeah. So the Romans said that basically you could kill the baby up to the age of 2 years with no legal consequences. So they were abandoned on the street. They would literally throw babies in the garbage. They would, the babies would be killed by dogs, eaten by dogs. The babies would die of the cold. And the whole idea of so this abandoning unwanted infants was called exposure because the baby would die from exposure to the elements. And what saved these babies and what created orphanages was Christians. Christians rescued these babies.
Hmm.
Christians rescued these babies. So now, the most dangerous man in the world, the philosopher who eats no meat or dairy, you need to be vegan. He thinks we're no better than animals. In fact, he thinks a chimp has more right to exist than a person, and that killing babies can be justified.
Oh my goodness, that's just crazy. A
Yeah.
chimp has more right to exist than a human being. Wow.
Yep. He's hated and feared.
Send him to the jungle, man. Let him live with the chimps.
No, 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 no. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander, right? No, 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 no. That's for those people, right? So he's hated and feared for daring to challenge the sanctity of human life. And this is Peter Singer, atheist philosopher, vegan too. Understand? So Peter Singer argues that it might be okay to rape disabled people. Why? They don't have a soul. They're not humans.
What?
They're non-people.
Who's this guy? Peter Singer? No
Atheists,
kidding.
of course.
Because they are disabled, so just rape them?
They're not. They don't have a soul. They're not people. They're non-people. They're not a human. They're not people. They're
So
non-people.
that is why this world is so bad right now.
This is so just find a disabled person and rape them if you need to get it off. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So
insanity.
so this is atheism, right? So now just a little bit of history. This guy, Claude Henri de Rouvois, the Count de Saint-Simon, 1760, Paris, right? Died in 1825. He coined the term socialism. He coined it in the 1820s. Created by French social theorist, one of the chief founders of what he called Christian socialism. Did you know socialism used to be Christian socialism?
No,
So
that's
he
a
wrote a
news to
book
me.
called Nouveau Christianisme, or the New Christianity. He proclaimed a brotherhood of man that must accompany the scientific organization of industry and society. I believe atheists are looking for a scientific organization of industry and society, and we must all live in a brotherhood of man. We must all get along in a multicultural society with the new Christianity called Christian socialism. So he was a nobleman, he becomes a revolutionary, and he wants to abolish private property. Where did he get that idea? Marx. Karl Marx. See? And then, of course, along with his colleague, that eventually they got into a fight, his colleague creates a scientific discipline called sociology, which then becomes something they put in universities, and that's how they pushed socialism into universities, through sociology. Because it was a replacement for Christianity. We can't have the church shaping society. We need university education to shape society with sociology, where we push Christian socialism. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
So abolish private property. And he says the theory of the communists may be summed up in the single sentence: abolish private property. Take away the heritage of a people and they are easily destroyed. Karl Marx, The Communist Manifesto, 1848. Wonder where Karl Marx got that idea. Now, the new Christianity, he says, It takes the form of a religion concerned with the plight of the poor. Aren't socialists always concerned about the poor, the Labour Party? We're concerned about the laborers, the poor, with the women, the children. Who's going to think about the children? And he says here, he says that no, you're not concerned about God. What you want to do is you want to break Christianity into its essential components, and then you say that religion should guide the community towards the great aim of improving progressives, right? As quickly as possible, the condition of the poorest class. We're here for the poor, right? So Christian socialism of the 19th century attempted to apply the social principles of Christianity minus divinity. And then, of course, he says that we must inheritance rights must be abolished because you can't give property and money to children. No, give it to the state. The state's going to look after everybody, just like they're doing in Britain today, with the farmers.
Give the children to the state as well.
Yeah. So you see, it's like what they're doing in Britain with the farmers. You're taking away the land and you're taking away the money. You see? So capital could leave the hands of self-seeking capitalists, those disgusting farmers, and be placed at society's disposal. Stop making food. We're going to look after you. Food comes from the supermarket. I don't know about this dirty farmers. Get the food at Tesco's. Good God. So that's what they're going to do. Now, the last two slides, you have the Frenchman Auguste Comte, founded sociology and a religion called positivism. Don't worry. Be happy. Right. So he creates the science of sociology. Told his parents at 14 he had no belief in God. Sociology comes from an atheist. Oh my gosh. Intellectual progress and understanding of reality were dependent on physical data only. Nothing spiritual. There's no soul. There's nothing spiritual. There's only physical urges. And he described it as a religion. Sociology in university is a religion of humanity. A religion of humanity. And it's based on the idea of Protagoras, man is the measure of all things. So what you decide is good is good. What you decide is evil. It's subjective. Are we seeing more religious stuff here, claiming to be science?
No, not at all. No
Not at
religious
all.
stuff.
No.
Yeah.
So, right, he then goes on and he says, so anyway, eventually they figure out this guy is considered mentally ill. The guy was nuts. He was a psycho.
For
and
sure.
a lot of them were psycho. Right? And of course, he speaks of the positive stage. You want to get rid of superstition. You want to get rid of ignorance. And a mentally ill man is the best person to help you do that. Right? So factual knowledge is gathered. You interpret it scientifically. And from that knowledge, you will learn how you should live using science. Scientific formulas will tell you exactly what to do. So the science of sociology was born because we're going to use science and mathematical formulas to calculate exactly what you should do anytime, every time. And it needs to rival ethics and theology to relate man to reality. You see, sociology in the university is designed to replace theology and ethics and morality. How's that? No one taught me that in school, I can tell you that. The new religion of sociology. See?
MashaAllah. They will not.
So now, finally, I'll finish here the final slide. Saint-Simon had a 3-stage process. You had a religious stage, a metaphysical stage, and then scientific. And you primitive barbarians are still in the religious stage. That's you, Adam, in case you wanted to know. Right?
Really? Okay.
Sadly. Yeah, I'm at the scientific stage myself, because look at the size of my brain. Can you see the size of my head in relation to the picture on the camera? That's the brain. That's the brain size.
Pretty small.
So science, so society.
Sorry.
See, so society will pass through these stages as knowledge becomes more assured, as we become more scientific, right? So ultimately, ethics would become a science to be calculated and defined. Like, should we kill those neighbors and then we can take their stuff and we'd be rich? Yeah, let's do that because we've calculated we'd make a lot of money, So therefore, you would define these things with precision and certainty using mathematics because that's scientific. In the process of banishing conflict, socialism and science and atheism will banish conflict to the history books. We will never fight again. So you recognize that dry rationality alone would not be enough. People needed emotions and feelings in their life. So rather than crush Christianity, he tried to replace it with a different system. What all these atheists are doing, they realize people need more than just facts. They need feelings and emotions. So they try to replicate religion, you see. So he replaces deity with humanity. He takes God out and he puts man in there. And he replaces clergy with scientists and faith with scientific knowledge. And then he proposes a social reorganization, a cult centered on Isaac Newton. So basically, his religion of scientific atheism was the mold from which many others would then create their own versions of scientific atheism. He was taken seriously by John Stuart Mill, Thomas Carlyle, and Karl Marx, and Friedrich Engels as well. And this guy was also a nut job. Once you go into more detail, he was also mentally unwell. Tried to kill himself, shot himself in the head, shot out his eye or something like that, and eventually just died, whatever, died young. So there you go. That's my story. The scientific atheism and just how it's going to
Wow.
make the world a better place.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Lloyd, first of all, for this beautiful presentation. But I have just one question from your channel. There you go. Answer.
Christianity promotes slavery. In the 4th century, the very first the very first writings at all on the abolition of Christianity comes from a Christian monk. I can't remember the name right now, but this is in the 300s. So the very first abolition of Christianity was actually in Christian writings. The British abolished slavery worldwide. They spent something at the time 15 billion. I think in today's money, it's something like, I don't know, $500 billion, which only got paid off in 2015 because the British Christians decided slavery was bad. Now, the Brits indulged in slavery for about 100 years. American slavery lasted 82 years, right? Whereas if you look at Islamic slavery, Muhammad was a slave trader. Muhammad's wife was a slave trader. They owned slaves, they sold slaves, they used slaves. Muhammad and his companions had sex slaves. So slavery, because it's Sunnah, slavery is thus legal in Islam. In fact, you can find it in Sharia. And then also, so the Brits
And in Quran and in Hadith.
yep,
FYI.
and they banned, so the Christians banned slavery all over the world. Islam has never repudiated slavery. For instance, 300,000, 350 to maybe 500,000 slaves went from Africa to North America.
By the
Whereas,
Islamic traders.
yep, captured by Islamic traders. Whereas, and that slave trade only lasted about 82 years at most. Whereas Islamic slave trading is still going on today. There are slave markets in various countries, and like Libya for one. And then, of course, what
And
you don't want,
Afghanistan.
half a
And
million
Iran.
went west to America, but the Muslims, the Barbary pirates, the Libyans, the Moroccans, and various others, the Arabians, they took something like up to 5 or 6 million white slaves from Europe to Africa and the Middle East. So there was at least something like 6 to 12 times more slavery by Arabs and Africans than there was slavery by white people. So, and that's just in the last 400 or so years, right? So slavery and then 15 million slaves approximately went to South America, to those brown people in South America. So and Saudi Arabia, you had something at least like 20 million slaves that went there. So you're looking at 50, 60, 80 times more slavery that went on for centuries that has never stopped in the Middle East and North Africa with Muslims, whereas white people, Christians, were actually the ones who ended slavery.
Thank you so very much for this absolutely marvelous, detailed answer. I love it. Thanks a lot. And somebody said he does not like my laugh. I'm sorry, man. Yes, Tom.
Oh, man.
Tom said, Adam, your laugh kills me. Sorry, man. I
I
don't
know he
want you
likes
to
it.
die.
No, I know. Tom is in German. He's all right. Don't worry. I know.
All right. And then we have this
Oh,
Japanese
this is
name.
Islam Truth. It's this twit that comes on all the time and just he doesn't have anything to add. I mean, so I see who you mean, yeah.
No, but like
The
that was a
golden
good
age.
answer. That was a good answer for everyone. I like your answer. Thank you for explaining that. Recalling a debate on premier YouTube channel between a Christian apologist and a fervent atheist scientist who kept ranting that human beings were just meat things. Very important. That's why I kept it. Exactly. And that's what Lloyd showed today, that according to the atheist, human beings are nothing. They are not, they're similar to apes and cows and sheeps and insects or bacteria or something like that. So that's what it is. Thank you so very much. And one more comment from your channel. This is Ex-Muslim Aki. Hey, you're watching Lloyd's channel? Okay. Love you, Adam bhai. Please check email. Hope you got. Send me an email now. Your email might have been in the back from a
Yeah.
lot of
You've got
people.
some triggered Muslims in the channel in the chat, I see.
Some Muslims are triggered in the chat. Do you want to bring
Yeah.
them up?
My advice is, look, tell you what, buddy, go drink some camel urine and calm down. Okay, get a nice warm mug of camel urine and just chill out.
And if a Muslim wants to have a talk with me on slavery in Islam, let me know. I'll open a live stream. So you can send my channel link over there in your side. And if a
It's
Muslim
amazing. They're
wants
saying
to.
the God of the Bible did some things. Look, buddy, that unfortunately that was corrupted. That's in the corrupted Bible. In the original one, it doesn't say that. So don't worry.
Okay, to all the Muslims in the live chat, let's say something like this.
No. So no,
If
so that's it
the
from.
if a God said go get a woman and then rape her, i.e., have sex with her, then you will reject that God. Okay? If you're willing to do that, come up live. If you're going to say that if anybody who is a Christian and had sex slave is a bad Christian, is a stupid idiot Christian, I'm with you. I'm going to say that as well. But then you have to add Muslims in it because Christianity was there before Islam. So if any Christian who had female slaves for sex and all and everything is bad, then every single Muslim, including the Prophet of Islam, so called Muhammad,
Exactly.
is also included. He is a bad person, demonic being, and should be burning in hell right now. Uh, if hell has fire, I don't know whether hell has fire or not, but you know. Anyhow, thank you so very much for being here, guys. Lloyd, brother Lloyd, every time I go live, I give the summary. Why don't you do that today?
Do a summary. On a scale from 1 to 10, I think you guys have realized that Adam is awesome. He has a great laugh. And Muslims have nothing to say. They're always trying to change the topic. They cannot defend Islam. They need to attack the Bible. It's always like that. And they always need to. But no, so look, atheism is an incoherent philosophy. It is paganism. It is based on ideas that are 3,000 years old, that are literally irrational. I mean, I've given you some idea. As you can see, these major atheists, these people who are like the priests of atheism, they are communists, they are revolutionary, they want to undermine society, they are anti-Christian. It is not a neutral philosophy. These people are genocidal when given political power. They've always been warlike. They want to cleanse the earth. They've got their own religious ideas, their religion. They've got various ideas that are irrational and violent, and they align with Islam because the two go hand in hand. They're both revolutionary ideological ideas like socialism. So don't believe what atheists tell you. Make them confront their history. Go to the history of atheism, and yeah, just show them what it is. And atheism, they cannot make any claim that Christianity is violent and so on, because Jesus was not violent. Christians can do violent things, but that is not the example of Jesus. But atheists have always been lethal. Atheists have been totalitarian. And that's why they and Islam go well together. I'll leave it at that. I mean, I think we have nothing to fear from
Thank you so
stupid
very much.
atheists.
Very, very nice summary, brother. And at the same time, because the violence goes hand in hand, and that's what's happening in the West right now. Very beautifully summarized, brother. Voyager, who has crossed our solar system already, said, Lloyd, thank you for enlightening us with your knowledge. Absolutely. Whenever Lloyd comes to my channel, it's always beautiful. I love him. I love his research, the way he presents it. It's beautiful. It's marvelous. Thank you so very much, everyone. And
Thank
as you know, before I go, I have to say something. Lloyd, will you be able to repeat?
I think we can this time, yeah.
All right, let's do it. Allahu Asghar!
What?
Allahu Asghar!
Allahu Asghar.
Wa Yeshua Akbarul
Akbar
Azim.
al-Azim.
God
Yeshua
bless
Akbar
you
al-Azim.
all. Have a blessed day, evening, or night, wherever you are, and I will see you this Thursday again. See you later.
Take care, guys, and God bless.